Food shortages, higher supermarket prices, fertilizer disruption, fuel shocks. And most people in Britain still have no idea that all of this could be triggered by one narrow strip of water thousands of miles away. Welcome back to Charlie Survival. Before we get into this, comment below if you want me to do a UK specific breakdown like this, and subscribe right now if you want more practical British preparedness and survival without the nonsense, without the panic and without the Hollywood fantasy. Because today I want to talk about something that lots of people are getting wrong. Most people are looking at this situation right now and thinking, right, this is just another oil story. Higher petrol, higher heating costs, maybe a bit more pain at the pump, job done. But I think the real danger is a lot deeper than that, because this is not just about oil. This is about the chain reaction that starts with energy, then hits transport, then fertilizer, then farming, then food prices, and then lands right in the middle of ordinary British households who are already stretched as it is. And that is the part almost no one is talking about properly. So in this video, I'm going to break down what the Strait of Hormuz actually is, why this matters to Britain even though it's happening thousands of miles away, why fertilizer could be the hidden part of the story, and most importantly, what you should actually do about it if you live in the UK and want to stay one step ahead. Because if you wait until this becomes obvious to everyone else, you're already late. Now first, let's get one thing straight. The Strait of Hormuz is one of the most important choke points on Earth. A huge amount of global energy and shipping passes through that narrow corridor. We are a modern island economy. That means when a major artery of world trade gets squeezed, we feel it. Not always on day one, but we feel it. And that's what I want people to understand. The first wave is usually price. The second wave is availability. The third wave is behavior. That's when people start panic buying, businesses start rationing quietly, and families suddenly realize the system is a lot more fragile than they assumed. That's where this gets serious, because fuel is only the obvious part of the story. The less obvious part is food. Modern farming is not some romantic image of a man scattering seeds in a field and hoping for the best. Modern farming is a machine. It runs on diesel, chemicals, logistics, refrigeration, imported inputs, and timing. Perfect timing. Miss the window, cost rise. Miss it again, yield falls. And one of the biggest hidden inputs in that machine is fertilizer. If fertilizer supply tightens or the rise jumps hard enough, farmers have a problem. Not a theatrical problem, a real one. Use less fertilizer and yield can drop. Delay purchase and cost can spiral. Switch crops and output changes. Pass the cost on and food gets more expensive for everyone. So when people say it's just oil, that tells me they're only looking at the first domino. I'm looking at the row behind it. And that matters because once you combine expensive fuel with distributed shipping and tighter fertilizer supply, you create pressure at nearly every stage of the food chain. The tractors cost more to run, the inputs cost more to buy, the warehousing costs more, the refrigeration costs more, and the shops pass it on. This is how a conflict in one region becomes a cost of living problem in Cornwall, Manchester, Birmingham, Glasgow, and everywhere in between. Now, does this mean Britain wakes up tomorrow with empty supermarket shelves? No, and this is where I want to be sensible. This is not me saying the UK is about to descend into chaos by Friday. It's not that, it's the kind of disruption that increases fragility in a system that is already fragile. That's the point. Most households in Britain are not prepared for even a short, messy disruption. Not because they are stupid, not because they are lazy, but because they've been trained to assume the shelves will always refill, the diesel will always flow, and the card machines will always work. Until they don't. And when they mostly still do, the prices can still punish you. That's why I always say preparedness in the UK is not about bunkers and fantasy gear. It's about reducing your dependency on fragile systems during unstable times. That's it. And in a situation like this, the people who suffer most are not the people who prepared a bit too early. It's the people who say, I'll deal with it later, and then later arrives all at once. So what would this actually look like in Britain if this drags on? First, you'll keep hearing about oil and petrol because that's what gets headlines. Then diesel becomes a bigger issue in the background because diesel is the bloodstream of logistics: vans, lorries, farm equipment, generators, delivery fleets. Once diesel costs rise sharply, the entire economy starts carrying extra weight. Then food producers feel it, then haulage feels it, then retailers feel it, then you feel it. Not with some dramatic announcement, just hits by 1,000 little increases. A few pounds extra here, a higher shop there, a product missing, a cheaper substitute, a delivery delay, a smaller pack for money. That is how it usually arrives, quietly, and that's why most people won't react until it's staring them in the face. By then, they're competing with everyone else for the same tins, the same rice, the same batteries, the same bottle of water, the same camping stove, the same power bank. That's why getting ahead matters. And on that note, if you want to build your kit the smart way, check out my Charlie Survival Amazon kit list. I spent a year pitting practical items for British households in one place: cars, blackouts, water, heating, cooking, and general resilience, without going overboard. And while you're at it, download my free blackout checklist from the pinned comment. It costs nothing, it's designed for normal UK homes, and anyone who grabs it will also be the first to hear when my UK Crisis Readiness System course comes out very soon. That course is being built to help ordinary people in Britain become far more self-reliant without wasting money on rubbish they don't need. Because this is what I want to hammer home: the answer to uncertainty is not panic, it is preparation. And there's a massive difference between the two. Panic is emotional, preparation is practical. Panic clears shelves, preparation fills gaps. Panic makes you buy random nonsense you'll never use. Preparation makes you quietly strengthen weak points in your life before a crisis exposes them. So if you're watching this and wondering what to actually do, let me give you a very British, very realistic response. Start with food. Not a doomsday stash, not 25 years of freeze-dried buckets. Just more food at home than you currently have. Think shelf-stable basics you already eat. Maybe rice, quinoa, pasta, oats, tinned meat, tinned fish, baked beans, soup, UHT milk, PG tips, coffee, salt, gravy granules, cooking oil, long life snacks. Then think about water, not because the taps are about to stop tomorrow, but because resilience means options: a few extra litres, some purification backups, a way to boil water if needed. Then power: torches, power banks, headlamps, spare batteries, a way to charge your phone if the grid goes down, or even just if local disruption hits. Then cooking: if your kitchen is fully dependent on mains power, what is your backup? A simple camping stove can change everything in a blackout. Then warmth: blankets, layers, hot water bottles, window draft control. Small changes matter massively in British homes, especially older ones. Then transport: keep your car from living on empty. Keep basic supplies in it, because when fuel headlines start, queues are never far behind. Then cash: not loads, just enough, because systems fail at the worst possible times. And maybe most importantly, build margin in your weekly life. This is the real prep. A bit of food margin, a bit of fuel margin, a bit of money margin, a bit of power margin, a bit of mental margin. Because people break down when they have zero slack in the system. Now, I also want to talk about psychology, because this is where most people get caught out. The real threat in Britain is often not a total collapse, it's the half crisis, the weird bit in between, the situations where things still look normal enough that people don't act, but abnormal enough that costs rise, items vanish, delays happen, and stress builds. That's where a lot of families get trapped. They keep waiting for an official moment, a big red siren, a government announcement that says now it's serious. By the time it becomes obvious, the best options are already gone. That's why I make these videos, not to scare you, to sharpen you, to help you see that preparedness is not some fringe obsession. It is simply taking responsibility in a world where supply chains are tight, geopolitical tensions are high, and the UK is far more dependent on fragile systems than most people realise. And I'll be honest with you, this is exactly why I think Britain needs a more grounded preparedness culture, not imported American fantasy, not tactical cosplay, not mad paranoia. Real British readiness, ready for blackouts, ready for fuel shocks, ready for storms, ready for food price spikes, ready for short-term disruption, ready for the quiet squeeze that catches unprepared people slowly. That's what Charlie Survival is about, and the reason this story matters is because it reminds us of a hard truth. Your life in Britain can be affected by events you cannot control, in places you have never been, through systems you can barely think about. That's the modern world, so you have two choices: stay passive and hope the machine keeps working, or build a life with enough resilience that when it stutters, you don't. That's the game. So here's my final take. This may start as an oil headline. It may become a diesel problem. It may become a fertilizer problem. It may become a transport problem. And eventually, if it drags on long enough, it becomes a household problem. Not because one dramatic thing happens at once, but because fragile systems compound pressure. And if you understand that now, you can get ahead of it now. That means topping up food before everyone else notices, sourcing your blackout kit before winter headlines return, making sure you have backup cooking, backup lighting, backup charging, and a bit more breathing room than the average household. That's not fear, that's wisdom. So if you got value from this, hit like, hype and subscribe. And stay close because I'll keep breaking these situations down in plain English for UK households. And don't forget to comment below so I know you want more videos like this. Also check out the Charlie Survival Amazon kit list in the description if you want to check out the basics I recommend. And download the free blackout checklist from the pinned comment. Anyone who downloads it will be the first to know when my UK Crisis Readiness System course drops very soon. And that's going to be my biggest step-by-step system yet for helping normal people in Britain become generally more prepared. Next, I recommend watching this video on screen now to learn all about if this is really a world war. Click it and remember, stay prepared, not scared.